Good evening. There is no greater testament to the impact of a nonprofit and the work they do than by hearing from someone who benefited from that nonprofit. And that nonprofit is the Heimerdinger Foundation. The Heimerdinger Foundation has affected so many different lives, including someone that some of you probably know if you are a Titans football fan. Angie Lima is a Titans cheerleader, and the terminology is cancer survivor. The term I use is cancer thriver. Angie is a cancer thriver, and because of the meals that she was able to receive through the Heimerdinger Foundation, she has been able to thrive. And I'm not so sure, I don't think I'm the one to spill the beans here, but there's something that has happened in her life that's pretty spectacular. And I think that the Heimerdinger Foundation and the work that everybody does is partly responsible for something that hopefully she will say tonight. Is that enough of a tease? Angie, would you please come on up?
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here this evening to share my healing testimony with you all and to speak of the amazing ways that this beautiful nonprofit organization has impacted my life. So, to tell you a little bit about myself, as he had mentioned, in 2011, I had this wild idea that I was going to become a professional cheerleader for none other than our Tennessee Titans. And I had next to zero dance experience. So the coach at the time looked at me and said, well, your dance skills are pretty subpar, but I can see some potential in you, but it's gonna take a lot of work. So I looked at her and I said, I know that the odds are stacked against me, but no one will work harder or be more determined to succeed. So I did what I said I would do and I went to work. I changed my diet, I spent countless hours at the gym, I danced every second I could, and I was in the absolute best shape of my life. Much to everyone's surprise, and if I'm being honest, including my own, I made the team, and I spent 2 amazing years cheering on a team that I still love so dearly to this day. But never could I have imagined that just a few short years later, someone from Titans history would play such an instrumental role in my health and healing. In the spring of 2017, during a self-examination, I happened to find a lump. And as I tell you this story, I get the same pit in my stomach that I felt the moment that I found it. And if I'm being honest, I don't know why I was so scared, because nobody in my family had ever been diagnosed with cancer, especially breast cancer. I was in phenomenal shape. I ate well. I didn't smoke. I didn't drink. And although my physical activity had declined since the birth of my daughter, I was doing pretty well. I nursed our daughter even for the first year of her life because statistics show that that actually will reduce your risk of breast cancer. By all accounts, I was healthy and I was 32 years old. Following a consultation with a general practitioner, she immediately sent me in to have a mammogram and an ultrasound. And by the end of that evening, I had a radiologist looking at me saying, I have every reason to believe that this is cancer. Nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, can prepare you for news like that. I don't remember if he mentioned specifics. To be honest, I don't even know if he mentioned his name, but all I knew is that prior to this news, it was a typical Friday, and this day was supposed to be like any other. Now I had been told that a malignant tumor had been growing and that I didn't have much time. A biopsy needed to be scheduled, and from there I would meet with an oncologist who would tell me what our next steps were. I thought about what this would do to my family, how I would tell my husband, and how this would impact the childhood of our daughter. My biggest fear as a new working parent was that I would miss out on many milestones. And now I had been told that I was up against something that would potentially take me out of her life forever. I remember one night we had planned to go out to dinner with our dear friends who happened to be in the audience this evening, Don and Mandy Diffendorf. And at this point, we hadn't shared the news with anyone. We wanted to confirm everything before we started talking about it, and we didn't plan on sharing with them that evening. But sometime in our conversation, it happened to come up. 2 weeks later, Don and my husband Felipe had been out in our front yards talking, and Don asked how I was doing. And at that point, we had received a diagnosis, and Felipe confirmed that it was stage 2B breast cancer of the right breast. While I can't say much more about their conversation, what I can tell you is this. Within 48 hours of hearing the news, that beautiful couple over there showed up on our doorstep with information about the Heimerdinger Foundation Meals for Health and Healing. And while I was in treatment, they told us that not only myself, but our family would be receiving up to 24 weeks of healthy, organic, anti-inflammatory, cancer-fighting food, completely free of charge, in part of their generosity. I remember standing in the front porch crying and hugging Mandy, because how could you possibly thank somebody for such a gift so special? I had no idea what we were up against, but what I did know is that we had tools necessary to equip me for the journey. If you or your loved one had ever been on a healing journey before, it's likely you've heard an oncologist speak minimally about the importance of nutrition, and it's by no fault of their own. In the actual words of my oncologist, it's just not something that's covered in great detail during medical school. He told me that cancer is a wasting disease, and that it was extremely likely I would lose more weight on my already thin 108-pound body. But what he told me was this: eat whatever you want, whenever you want, as much as you can, whenever you can. Don't worry about the calories. You don't have to be concerned about your weight. You have to bulk up. You've got a journey ahead of you. But this sparked my curiosity, because how could this be true? While I understand the importance of modern treatments, I kept thinking about the terms, "let food be thy medicine." I don't think my doctor was quite prepared for someone like me that day, because what intended to be a short and casual conversation about the do's and don'ts of chemotherapy ended up being a lengthy discussion about the importance of nutrition. And by the end of our conversation, he did agree and confirm that yes, a plant-based diet is best, but it's not something typically people can or are willing and able to do. He also told me that day that we would never be able to have another baby. He said if I chose not to egg harvest, it would be next to impossible. And considering we were already on a journey that would be emotionally devastating, it wasn't something I was prepared to do. That same week, I had my first consultation with my volunteer client liaison here at Meals for Health and Healing, Catherine Stevens, and I have to say, she was the most remarkable and incredible woman I've ever met. Prior to our meeting, our conversation was supposed to last about 15 minutes. She told me that she would ask me about meal preferences, if I had any allergies, or any special accommodations that would need to be made during drop-off and delivery. But the second I opened the door, it was like meeting a long-lost best friend. And I knew instantly that I had someone in my corner. She had explained to me the program in great detail, and I felt a calming relief knowing that such a weight-bearing load was about to be lifted off of my shoulders. And by sheer coincidence, I received my very first Meals for Health and Healing meal delivery on my first day of chemotherapy. After 8 hours of sitting in a chemo ward being injected with chemicals of names far too lengthy for me to begin to pronounce, I came home to an assortment of delicious and nutritious organic meals. But what made this even more special was a gift that came along with it. As previously mentioned, I had received a small thinking of you card, and in it contained the names of everyone who played a part in cooking, assembling, labeling, and delivering the meals. Something even more special was that I had received a small flower arrangement. Not only could you see the love and compassion that went into preparation and delivery, but you actually could feel it. And this made a difficult day so much easier to bear. And even though they had no idea who I was or exactly what I was facing, this simple gesture meant the world to me. The details really do make all of the difference. I was extremely fortunate to maintain and retain good health in my treatments. I was able to keep my appetite, which is something typically uncommon for those going through treatments, and my blood count had never experienced any significant drops, all of which I do attribute to my Lord and Savior, but also the love and support of family and friends and the meals that I received through this foundation. Anytime I would be in treatment, people would ask me, "What are you doing different? You look so healthy, you look so happy, what's your secret?" Well, I would speak about my faith, but I would also tell the fellow patients about the importance of nutrition and how what we put in our bodies makes all the difference when it comes to our healing and recovery, and how this incredible organization was making a world of difference in my life by providing these cancer-fighting meals and taking the stress out of making healthy, conscious decisions for myself and my family by giving me the vitamins and minerals needed to aid in the recovery post-treatment process. What we put in our bodies can either hurt us or heal us. And during such an uncertain time and a scary time, nutrition is the one and only thing we have the ability to control as we heal. This organization is so much more than just providing cancer meals to patients. And while it's true, that's what they do, they also provide hope. They are providing a quality of life that is often missing from that of a cancer patient. They provide compassion to those who may not receive it otherwise, and each of the volunteers will impact a recipient in ways they can't even begin to imagine. Every week when I received that Thinking of You card, I prayed over every single one of those people who signed my card, and I spoke blessings into their life, realizing that they could be doing absolutely anything with their time, but yet somehow I was lucky enough to reap the benefits of their generosity. This program gives you the tools necessary to make changes in your everyday lifestyle to become and maintain optimum health. Because of my treatment protocol, both traditional and integrative, along with nutrition, supplements, and an active lifestyle, I am cancer-free. Thank you. Thank you. And in addition to that, on January 3rd of this year, my husband and I found out that we will be welcoming a miracle baby boy come August. Thank you. While I know I have spoken for quite some time, I've actually barely touched upon the surface as to what this organization means to me. So be it with your time, your talents, your contributions, or your donations, please know that these efforts do not go unnoticed or unappreciated. What you're doing here tonight is you're giving someone hope and you're improving their quality of life. Thank you so much for all that you do and the ways that you support this beautiful cause. And I am forever grateful to the Heimerdinger Foundation for all the ways that you've impacted and blessed my life. Thank you.